Fantasy managers, hello and welcome back to the FPL Addicts podcast. As you can see on screen here, we have got a jam-packed panel today. It is the maximum amount of numbers, as Chaz is doing there, the raise the roof, the synonymous raise the roof on the FPL Addicts panel for the season. So we are back for our Game Week 12 preview show, which is sponsored by Bonus Bank. And if you're new around here and you're watching along live or listening in another time, please give the video or podcast some love with a like, rating, review, or a subscription as well. As I said, we've got all 6 of us on the podcast today. So if it does go to utter chaos, please do bear with us. We will do our best to get our points across and everything. So we will get right into it today, boys. Game week 11 just ended. It's obviously the first midweek game week of the season, I'm fairly certain, right? So it's coming thick and fast now as it gets closer to the World Cup. Only, I think, 6 game weeks to go. And then we'll be soaking up in the sun over here in Melbourne, but getting a little bit chilly for the 2 English lads on the podcast, Reedy and Rev in England. But we'll get right into it. We'll review some of game week 11. Rev, do you want to start off? You had a very interesting team. Finding out that you had Kepa in your team was one of the highlights of the game week for me personally. But you've got on the document here 2 good and 2 bad assets. You've got Kepa and Guehi as your 2 good ones. So talk us through them.
Yeah, cheap and cheerful seems to be the way to go when we're picking assets at the back, especially for these next couple of game weeks. I did take a -4 for Kepa, just because, to be honest, I was sick of all of the stick that I was getting, just for still having Ward and Iverson. So I was just like, you know what, sack it, and he repaid. He repaid. He got bonus points. He got save points. It was great. And then Guehi, some people were going for other Crystal Palace defenders. I just think Guehi was the most nailed, just most likely to get 90. And so, there are other people on this panel who experienced the full force of Crystal Palace defenders getting subbed off before their time. Thoughts, Elliot? Thoughts?
Tyrick Mitchell was not even the cheapest Palace defender that I could have gotten. I could have gone with Guehi and just, he was 4.3, I think, at the time when I got Mitchell in. So
the thing is, you've got to get Guehi games just for Ollie. Ollie loves the bones of the guy.
Anyone that Ollie's had in his team is staying as far away from mine as possible, mate. That was my thought process behind it. So I thought, Mitchell, he was a cult hero 2 seasons ago when he first burst onto the scene for Palace. He was great. I'd watched a little bit of Palace. He was good when he played us. And I thought, 4.5, I'll pay the extra 0.2 million up until the World Cup. See what he can do. And of course, he got dragged after 55 minutes in the game that Palace do end up keeping a clean sheet. So just typical FPL, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously it wasn't the most exotic transfers going from Trent Alexander-Arnold to Guehi and Iverson to Kepa, like very, very boring, yawn-worthy transfers. But I feel like they paid off in the end. And unfortunately, I do have my team, just like a few of us. So I'm sorry if I'm cutting out, by the way. Apologies for that. But Maddison, bit of a pain, and also Raheem Sterling again, just a bit of an XG merchant. Reminds me of when I had Adama Traore in my team last season. Brought him in because all of his expected data was there and his fixtures was about to turn. And same with Sterling, brought him in, and he's just not got the end product.
He definitely doesn't. If you watch him play, he does all the right things and then just all goes to pot when he gets, 6 yards out from the goal. Even it usually goes to crap for Raheem Sterling, but he does it when it matters for England. So he can do all he wants wrong in a Chelsea shirt. As long as he does it right in a 3 Lions shirt, that's all that matters to me, as we are obviously edging closer to the World Cup. So if he can find some form before then, it would be lovely. But you definitely had 2 good and 2 bad there. But Kepa, big surprise. He put on an absolute clinic, made world-class saves. The triple save that I saw, the save from Ings' header, it was like a brand new goalkeeper. They obviously paid big money for him a while ago and he didn't look like he was going to be worth it. But, they definitely got their money's worth in that game, didn't they, Rev?
Yeah, man, totally agree. Couldn't be happier that moving forward, I don't have to deal with the shambles that is Leicester defense. So yeah, that's me happy for the next few game weeks at least.
Yeah, I've been freed from the shackles of the two Leicester goalkeepers. 11 game weeks into the season, albeit, but better to be freed from them than to not be freed from them at all. Reedy, Liverpool finally getting the win that they really needed to sort of kickstart their season and, really get moving now. Beating Man City 1-0 at home. Mohamed Salah, what a fantastic goal that was.
Yeah, some game, eh? Deserved probably more than a 1-0. But Mo Salah, it's hard to not say them words. He's back. As FPL managers and as a Liverpool fan, it was amazing to just see the fight, the spirit. The team wasn't obviously our best team. Milner at right back, Gomez centre back. I was expecting the worst, and to be fair, Haaland only had two chances, proper chances anyway. So yeah, fantastic, amazing. I was absolutely buzzing after the game, and yeah.
Big 3 points for Liverpool. As you mentioned there, Haaland with his first proper blank of the season. It sort of just goes to show that even in the tough fixtures, you can go with, different captaincy options. I think Reedy, especially, Harry Kane this week, a lot of people opted to go with him who owned him over Haaland, and he obviously rewarded people. But he's definitely flying under the radar. As Chaz was telling us on the last podcast, he's backed Harry Kane in every single game week so far this season. Just hasn't had him in his team at all, but he continues his form, doesn't he, Chaz? Another goal for Spurs, and he is absolutely flying this season as Harry Kane.
Oh, I adore him so much. He's just ever Mr. Consistent. There's not much more you could ask from a great man.
He scores goals. Harry Kane scores goals.
Scores goals for fun, gets the assists, just dropping dimes like playing on the basketball court. That's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to fit all these attackers into your team these days. There's Mitrovic, there's Tony, there's Haaland, there's Kane, there's Jesus. But Harry Kane is looking like one of the ones that you probably should be having in your team, especially for the upcoming game week. We will touch on that a little bit later. And as so many people have said, the last time that Kane has actually blanked, and it was brought up at the FPL social as well, was game week 1, that game at home to Southampton, where Spurs, they even beat Southampton 4-1, but that was the last time he blanked. So he has been on consistent but quiet form because he hasn't been getting too much of the headlines. Ollie, I think, when you've got someone like Haaland in the league, he is obviously taking a lot of the attention away from Harry Kane, but he's ticking along very nicely, isn't he?
He is, and it works out well for those who did captain him this week, myself included, because everyone's gone with Haaland, and all the fanfares around Haaland, and those with Kane can have an outside armband pick who's been reliable for so many years and rocket up the ranks. So he's a quality player. He's one of my favourites just because of what he's done for England and what hopefully we'll do in Qatar in not too long now. It's 4 weeks away at the World Cup, but it bodes well not only for Tottenham but for England as well, given that he's on form. Of course, it was a penalty, but he's a quality penalty taker.
It wasn't a penalty. Come on, mate. Come on.
Oh, we're going to get into this now.
I'm salty. I'm sorry. I am salty, bro. I'm salty.
As in the literal sense, like the referee awarded the penalty, he stuck away the penalty, and people who say pen merchant online mustn't realise how tough it is to actually take a penalty and be good at taking pens. And that's the one good thing about an FPL sense owning Harry Kane is every time from 12 yards he looks confident, and that bodes well for us.
I tell you what though, Rev, if Pickford's arms were a little bit longer, then he might have got to the ball first. And
this is what I was saying on Twitter. This is what I was saying. I saw so many tweets saying this isn't a penalty. I said if he had longer arms, if he didn't have dinosaur arms, he would have been absolutely fine and got to the ball first. But he's got little arms, so he couldn't get to the ball, could he, Rev?
Mate, when it comes down to it, he's England's number 1, and he is our best keeper. None of this Nick Pope nonsense for you Newcastle whoppers. He's our best keeper. He's been quality so far this season. I think we do have one of the best defenses in the league. Obviously, the last 2 games against United and Spurs, tough fixtures. We expect to lose them. But I do think going forward, I do have my eye on some Everton assets. Hopefully, looking forward to bringing them into my team, getting ready to get hurt emotionally.
Going to bring another keeper in.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's funny that you mentioned
Keep
Newcastle Rev, because Newcastle Everton play each other next, so we'll see which keeper and which team come out on top then, and that'll be interesting for the next.
I think Gareth Southgate will be present at that game, and there will be some decisions.
Inside info
for sure.
Inside, personally.
Well,
just like when you knew Trent Alexander-Arnold was going to play because of some parcel delivery reading a while ago.
We've not heard many stories about him recently, have we?
Oh God, no.
He's fallen off the face of the earth.
Did he lose his job for spreading rumors?
No, he did Steve McManaman the other week, but he's long retired, so we'll leave that one out. But yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. Well done on the keeper pick, Rev. I mean, the Kepa one, obviously, brilliant pick, mate. So.
the keeper Kepa, yeah.
On a serious note, Rev, you've been talking about that Chelsea pick for about 6 game weeks, and then you were trying to get him into my wild card, weren't you? Obviously, you tried to double up with the Chelsea assets, but it wasn't a bad shout. But you've been dying for that one, haven't you?
I've been reaching for a goalkeeper. I've just had other fires to put out, and this week I've just gone Saka -4. Just get the problem over and done with, get it out the way. And obviously this week Ward keeps a clean sheet. Oh, you couldn't write it, could you?
Loyalty in FPL, mate. Got to stick with Danny Ward there, mate.
Rev, have you taken a -12 for this coming game week? That's all I care about.
I am currently on a -8, but I'm sure we'll hear more about that in a bit.
More. -12. Come on.
Yeah.
We will definitely touch on that one a little bit later. Jack, Man United Newcastle ended up being, goalless draw in the end, 0-0. As I think you were saying, it was the first time that there's been 0-0 since 2019 or something like that. So crazy.
2019. Well, you always expect goals, don't you, in this game? And I think Newcastle have turned that corner now with obviously the investment, solid manager, consistent manager, and the back line has obviously sorted itself out. You've got some great new signings in there. Obviously with the keeper that we've already mentioned with Pope, who's actually a half decent keeper.
England's number one.
Currently. So United going into that game, we're still obviously United with the changes. I thought it was going to be obviously quite a few goals in this one, and Reedy actually called this one with the clean sheets, saying there wasn't going to be many goals in it. And he's done right there, to be fair. But traditionally, the game's always had lots of goals. I was keen to see a few, and I think I fell asleep at half time, early hours of the morning here, and it wasn't the biggest spectacle, was it? So, yeah, shame for the neutrals, shame for fans. I think you'll come away happy with that result, and the assets. Obviously, a lot of people are owning trips in there, clean sheets. But maybe something about United as well. Obviously, not conceding is also a bonus. We've been horrendous for that over the last couple of seasons. So clean sheet for United assets as well. So it could be something to look at.
Yeah, I think it was fairly typical FPL that the one game that Nick Pope keeps his clean sheet in, since a lot of people got him in on their wild cards, 4 or 5 game weeks ago, was the one away to Man United, which no one really expected much from him there. But we do statistically have the best defence in the league, least goals conceded. That's partly down to Nick Pope, Botman, all these new players, Trippier that we have brought in.
Yeah, Botman's
class,
done well.
mate.
Even like Botman's been great, hasn't he, to be fair? He's good for Brighton. He had a massive price tag, and he's been great in FPL as well. So I think even assets like him, spot on. Cheap.
That's what they are. They are the epitome of an enabler, I think you would call them these days. So 0-0 in the end, but it certainly wasn't the most boring of games, especially in the second half. Man United were really clawing their way back, but 0-0 was the final full-time score for that one.
Well, what about your mate Joe Linton as well?
Oh, we're not
Crossbar
talking about
post.
That, to be fair,
Picture got penalty as well.
Well, to be fair, with the penalty, you lot should have had a penalty as well. So I kind of rule that one out and draw a line under it, because I think VAR had a shambles for both of them. And obviously Fred also missed his open goal as well. So there was a lot of errors in that game. But it was a very interesting one in the end. But 0-0 was the full-time score. I'm told there was a Gabriel potential red card this morning. I haven't even had a chance to look at the highlights, obviously because of the quick turnaround. But Reedy, I think you know a bit more about me. It was originally given as a red and it was changed to a yellow, was it?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to, I wasn't expecting you to come to me on that one because I know probably as much as everyone else.
Yeah,
all I know is that
does anyone know? Does anyone know what's happened?
I've seen it pop up that apparently VAR and Gabriel have been sent off and maybe a penalty to Leeds, but it turned out it was the wrong decision by the ref, maybe. So VAR.
Let's get some facts here. Rev, do you see it?
Yeah, I think. Go on, Ollie.
It was a tussle between Gabriel and Bamford, and so they were having a go at each other. And it looked like Bamford had clipped Gabriel, and Gabriel's then gone back at him and then been sent off. Now, obviously, Bamford had already missed a penalty by this point. And my first look I thought, it's a free kick to Arsenal because I thought that Bamford had gone at Gabriel first, but Gabriel has then overreacted and then been sent off. It was later rescinded, but Bamford had an interesting game because obviously he fluffed his penalty and then he was antagonising Gabriel and ended up getting the decision from the referee on field, but VAR then overturned it. It was a really, really strange one. It was a strange game, that one, really.
I think with the power cut as well, right? So
yeah, I think what I want to say about that Arsenal game is like when your luck is in, and they got the red card overturned, and then the penalty was missed as well. So on another day they're only walking away with 1 point there, and I think Arsenal right now, it's better to be lucky than good is the old adage, and right now they're lucky and good. So I think once this game week 12 is over, I'm looking to get all three Arsenal assets straight back as quickly as possible.
Chaz has got his hand raised, so I think he wants to comment something about what you've just said.
I don't want to intercept while someone's speaking, so I just want to say very, very quickly, who did get a clean sheet in that game? Saliba. Let's carry on.
There's the obligatory Saliba from Chaz. It happens every pod, and he's done it. Yeah,
it happens every day, mate.
Bit of a different complete without it,
wasn't
it?
It's not a podcast without a Saliba from Chaz. Anyway, Chaz, you want to have a little discussion now about the variety in strikers. You want to talk about Dominic Solanke, which was definitely a very prolific figure on Twitter just for the past 2 game weeks. Everyone's been talking about him. So I'll just let you take it away. You're going to talk about Tony, Mitrovic, Solanke, Kane, all of them. So go for it, Chaz.
Yes, that's right. I just like how there's a good variety of options up front now. There's people with Tony, and I was just the last one of the possible 6 members in this podcast group to actually get him into their side. Mitrovic is back on the score sheet. You have Kane as another solid premium option to complement Erling Haaland. Haaland is the player everyone has in their side, but I've also liked Dominic Solanke as sort of, you could say in a way, a budget option too. He's been really good from a Bournemouth attacking sense, and he's got really good fixtures. I like for the Cherries heading into the World Cup, and I think he could do some genuine dominance.
Fair enough. I mean, he's definitely proved a lot of people wrong. I saw a lot of people saying that, it wasn't worth getting him in. And I think even Ollie was saying, no to Philip Billing and everyone. But I'm still standing firm and saying that Solanke will not be going in my team for the foreseeable future.
Mate, he's an absolute fraud, in my opinion. Yeah. So there's some stats for you, because we love a stat. So in game week 6, he got 12 points. He had 1 shot in the box and one chance created, and his expected goal involvement, so that's a combined XG of XG and XA, it was 0.2, which is
his girlfriend's in there as well, mate.
I know, yeah. You definitely won't see me bringing him in so he can even be me ex, And then game week 10, he got 8 points. He had, again, 1 shot in the box and 1 chance created. So he got 8 points off an XGI of 0.3. And then again in game week 11, he had 2 shots in the box and 1 chance created. His expected goal involvement was 0.4 XGI. and still manage 12 points. He's getting really lucky, and the owners can consider themselves really lucky as well at the moment.
Yeah,
just from a mathematical perspective, yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think, if you've got the points from him in the past 3 game weeks, then enjoy it, but just don't really expect too much more in the upcoming game weeks. And I definitely wouldn't be bringing him in. I think there's definitely better options up top, even paying that little bit of extra money for someone like Mitrovic, who Fulham has still got great fixtures coming up. So he's going to be sticking in my team, but we will obviously touch on our team selection for next game week later. Chaz has raised his hand again.
Options. I'll just do very quickly. I also like the options in Roberto Firmino, despite his blank against Man City, but it was a cracking finish from Salah and parachuted from Alisson's beautiful foot himself. And Scamacca from West Ham. I really like his next 3 home fixtures especially. And he's got his confidence as Fahama up top. It was the Jamaican and Mikel Antonio. I was going to say something else, but it's inappropriate. And now there's Scamacca.
Yep, he's doing the business for West Ham, and we will swiftly move on to discuss how we went this game week, boys. And we will start at the bottom of the league still. Unfortunately, Ollie, you've done well this week, but you're still sitting rock bottom.
You couldn't wait to put him back in his place. Come on, mate.
You know it, boys. 79 points this week. I cannot say anything other than fantastic job, because in a game week where you've got 33 points above the average, that is just absolutely unreal. So well done to you, mate. Take us through your team.
Yeah, well, I said last week, the week that I had a good week, I wouldn't parade and celebrate too hard because I've had a shocking start to the year. And so I've got to hold to that, and I will. But the good things I do want to say about this 23k game week rank out of over 10 million players is something that I'm taking out of it. A 1.7 million green arrow is also something I'm taking out of it, which is berserk that I've got a 1.7 million green arrow. I think it only shows, as well as how good this week's gone, it just shows how bad this season's gone, that I've had the capacity to have a 1.7 million green arrow. But I'd love another one. I'd love another 1.7 million green arrow this week, if that's possible. It started with the early game. David Raya, the former Rover, of course, the Blackburn Academy graduate, doing absolutely wonders for me in net. Ivan Toney, they combined 22 points with those 2 Brentford players, and I got a set away really from there. The Kane captaincy, a lot of people went with Haaland, so that gave me more chance to get green arrows. Holding on to Ivan Perisic as well. He's been so frustrating. He's been so annoying, Ivan Perisic. But finally, my loyalty pays off. And then the Man United Newcastle game 0-0 was a perfect result. So literally everything a lot of things that could have gone right did go right, and I'm just hoping to go back and do it again. I can't have 1 week. I can't be a 1 week wonder. I need to go back, have another solid week, and keep the momentum going.
Yeah, sounds about right, mate. And Dallo, obviously, got the 9 points for you. He ended up getting all 3 bonus points. So, Trippier lost out on his bonus point. I think it was the last minute of the game I was seeing. So he was so close to a bonus as well. But Dallo ended up getting the 3 for you. So it really was the defense and the goalkeeper that hit big for you this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he had the 3 to Dallo, and Raya and Toney took 5 combined, which was brilliant. But yeah, Dallo's been a really nice one. Good price point. Kieran Trippier, arguably should have had an assist with that Joe Linton sort of goal-mouth scramble. He probably should have scored one of those 2. And I think with the second one, he probably would have got the assist. I avoided the 5th yellow, which is very lucky. Still on 4 yellows, I think, on Spike. But yeah, I did avoid it, and I did pretty well. I think I've gone from the 4th yellow to on the verge of a suspension to scoring a hat trick this week, but it doesn't mean anything if I have a bad week this week. So I need to go back and do it again. I need to have another solid week, get another green arrow, and then maybe I can have cause for celebration then. But I'm not going to toot my horn too much because it's only 1 week, but I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, and we might as well mention it now and get it out of the way, boys, because Ollie, congratulations to you. You are the manager of the week for the FPL Addicts Members League. So congratulations to you. Very well done. I'm sure, your barren and empty trophy cabinet will have something in it now, so you can put that right up on the mantle and stare at it for the rest of the season, because it's the last one that you'll be getting, mate. So congratulations. As I said, that game week rank is fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen numbers quite that low for a game week rank for me ever. So you smashed it out the park this week, so well done to you. Full credit goes to you for being the best FPL manager in the FPL Addicts Members League for this week, mate.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, mate. It feels really weird hearing you say that. I'd never thought that you'd be saying I'm manager of the week. But regarding the empty cabinet, I've got a few player awards from my football playing days that can go alongside. Maybe they were just pity votes. I don't know, but they can. I've got an FPL trophy to go alongside that now, and hopefully it's not the last one of the season. It probably is. Let's face it. But you take what you can get, and if you have a look at that league table now, I was almost like 40 points adrift last week, right? Or 30 points adrift. 4 points behind you, Reedy. So
getting tight in there, isn't it?
It really
half of the table.
It doesn't look great. I'm also 4 points off Chaz as well. It doesn't look great still for me because I don't want to be on the bottom of the league, but it looks a lot better this week than it did last week.
It really, really does. And as Jack was just saying there, it really is getting competitive. Even for the whole league, I'll say it's getting competitive. Reedy and
no,
me
it's not. No, it's not. Jack's winning it. Just stop it.
Jack's winning it all. I think Jack's he's going to fall off. He's going to fall off in a couple of weeks. Promise you, he's going to fall off. I promise you.
Give me a big World Cup.
Yeah. Well, Jack will fall off when I stop leaking my transfers and he stops copying them. In the group chat.
Got to keep your secrets from now on, because it's getting competitive. I think post World Cup is when things will really start to kick in and the divides will really show. But still got a couple of game weeks to go.
It's summertime here in Australia in January. I always have a big January, so I can very easily slip after December, going into January. Big World Cup, big January, Aussie Open, sunshine's out, Coronas are out, anything could happen.
You're bound to forget to do a couple of transfers in that month, mate. I think you're definitely bound to do it. So we await for that to happen, and maybe Jack will drop off the top of the league. Reedy, you got 50 points this week, which is another fairly decent score. So take us through your team, mate.
Yeah, cheers, El. It was okay. It was all right. I mean, I took the -4, so it's bang on average. I mean, same as last week. I think I got bang on average again. Just can't seem to get any luck at the minute. I think the Bowen captain was really bold and obviously brave going against Haaland. There was never any doubt I was doing that, and just so frustrating that Bowen didn't get anything out of that game, because it would have been massive. But yeah, sort of main lot of my points were from the defence. Really happy with clean sheets. Saliba got his yellow, but it's not the be all and end all. And then Ivan Toney just proving that he's worthy of being in the Premier League. That finish against Brighton, his first goal was so cute, such a great goal. And yeah, he got the 12 points, so that was nice. But that was it, really. Nothing else to shout about in terms of James Maddison being we all know.
We don't want to go there, do we? We don't want to go there.
Yeah, you just knew. I think you just knew that one of them would do it, whether it be Jesus for 13 or Maddison for this week. But to do it with 1 minute left to go was just ridiculous. And I mean, yeah, it's one of them. But McAllister, no points from him. And then Arsenal boys.
Hey, read it on the McAllister one. What did I tell you on the podcast last week?
I'm not sure.
Who's on your bench? Who's on your bench?
A lot. I forget most of the time. But yeah, go on.
Who's
What
on
did
your
you
bench,
say?
son?
Ooh.
Andreas. I went, why have you not starting him against Bournemouth instead of McAllister?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not actually kicking myself over that one. It's more Castagna.
Oh, you're just saying that. Of course you're kicking yourself.
No. It's more Castagna. And I mean, if I'd have played Andreas, 3 extra points in the grand scheme of things? That's
if you played Castagna, it would have been 4 extra points.
Yeah, it would have been even further away, wouldn't you?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Getting dragged into the relegation scrap.
Yeah, Castagna was the one for me that I should have probably played. But then again, Maddison and McAllister, the fixtures they had and so on, you maybe expect them to get something. It wasn't to be. So I go out with 50 points in this game week. So got to get there sooner or later. The luck's going to go for me. So I'm just
46
trying to stay off the bottom at the moment. Yeah. Well, listen,
you and
what is it?
What are we on 50? Wasn't
You,
50?
you and Mikey can carry on being transfer friends, and I'll just play my own game. You know,
Reedy's just hurt that Rev's not telling him his transfers anymore, and Jack's not telling Reedy his transfers anymore. He feels excluded here. I think that's what's going on.
Reedy's been a busy man, to be fair. We haven't chatted for a few weeks. He's been quiet. He's been cracking on with his work. You know, that's why he's dropped in these rankings here, and you know,
the focus is
real life. Focus on real life.
I mean, I think Ollie obviously had an
focus.
amazing. Yeah, obviously Ollie had an amazing game week. He's absolutely smashed it, so he's catching up. And you know, it's tight between really. I mean, Rev's not even out of the clear so far. I mean, someone could quite easily catch you there, Mikey. So just keep on going, keep on making the moves. And I think for this game week, there's no Haaland captain, which is great again, because it then throws it in the mix of who are people going to pick, and there's going to be a few differentials, I think. So that'll be nice.
Hey, Reedy.
Yo.
Captaincy corner's going to be interesting.
Well, saying. I'm just gonna move this way a little bit and just give a little, you know, hints to.
Yeah, that's it. Get off the pod.
It's all right, Jack. He's back. He's back, mate. He's back.
Look at that crown on the back of his head there. Look at that.
King
what have you won this week?
Hey,
that crown. The crown from
yeah.
Salah on your head.
It's like Biggie Smalls.
For those who are listening along on the app, I think we should describe to you that Reedy's background picture is a picture of the Egyptian king himself, and Reedy's just basking in the glory that is the Mo Salah 1-0 win. I think this week he's in Gloat Town.
Yeah, I mean, it just puts those City fans back in their place, doesn't it? I'm sure you'll agree, Jack, that even as a United fan, you like to see City lose every now and then, even though you hate Liverpool.
Go on, mate. No one wants to see Liverpool win.
Oh well, all right. Yeah, I forgot that he's a United / Everton / City fan. Yeah, apologies.
What nonsense with that bloody parrot on your shoulder you're talking.
Oh my god. My god, too funny. Well, we're gonna move on, boys, because we could be here all day.
It actually looks like it's on the shoulder, doesn't it? Yeah, mate. There you go. There's a bit of bird seed there.
Oh dear. Well, Chaz, oh my days, that is a shocker of a week, mate. I'm sorry. There's no other way to put it.
Oh, yeah, even I laughed at my own team yesterday.
Oh, God.
I was sending a message to the WhatsApp group before the game week. I was sort of expecting a sort of week such as this. It was relatively depleted. Lost out on a couple of 50-50 decisions in losing out on 5 points from a goalkeeper perspective. And Andreas's assist, everyone blanked. Madison suspended. How great's that? The first captaincy blank since game week 4. But the huge positives is Kieran Trippier has returned every game week since I've owned him, including a clean sheet at Old Trafford. Not an easy ground to go to. And Mitrovic back on the score sheet, which is fantastic to see. And can I tell you something just special about this podcast? I'll go through a nice in-depth analysis about this 33-point game week, but no mention of my 100.1 game week 2 weeks ago at the FPL Social, and that's just all part of the fun. I love it. Thank you very much. Let's move up to third place.
Can I just say, we're going to touch on this later, but you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players that are probably not going to play next game week, Chaz. So I am very excited to see how you are going to handle your transfers. And we obviously will touch on that a little bit later. But I think it's going to be very interesting.
It's all about story time in bed.
What do you think about that there, Red? Chaz is screwed. Screwed, aren't you, mate? You're screwed for this game.
Was that the parrot or you?
That was the parrot. That was the live bird, Jack. Get it right. Okay.
It's a knockoff, mate. It's a parrot.
Parrot. Oh my days. I don't even know why I'm talking so much this week on the podcast, because I didn't even have a good week myself either, boys. It was 47 for me in a 46-point average game week. So better than Chaz, a lot worse than Ollie's. Pope and Trippier with a double clean sheet was really, really nice. Nearly wiped out in like the last kick of the game. If Rashford had scored that header, then I would have been in the absolute trenches this week. We spoke about Mitchell before. I don't even want to talk about it because I think I'll cry, boys, to be honest. Absolutely robbed me of clean sheet points, did Patrick Vieira this week. And I will be I'll be having strict words with him. Ollie, you got to interview him. You got to ask him a question. So next time you do, can you ask him why he brought Mitchell off, please? Because I'm really hurt. And I think I don't want to talk about it, boys. I'm not talking about it. Midfield, absolutely nothing happened for me in there this week. Disappointed with Bowen, much like Reedy was saying. Great fixture on paper. He's on penalties now, and unfortunately nothing this week. Same with De Bruyne, Martinelli, and then Maddison. The less said, the better. The good news was I stuck with Mitrovic. I started him. He wasn't an auto sub or anything. I thought, Marco Silva's playing mind games. And I just had a feeling that he was going to start, and I really liked the fixture for him. So I did start him. He obviously bagged, which was nice, and he's got 3 great fixtures coming up as well. So he will be staying in my side. And then Tony obviously got that double for himself as well. So he did really well. I was disappointed that I left Andreas on the bench, but in hindsight, I think if I'd started him over Bowen, De Bruyne, Martinelli, or Maddison, I think that would have been pretty crazy. So 47 for me, nothing to report home about, but keeps me ticking along, keeps me third in our league, boys. So it's it's not much, but it's honest work at this point. So as I said, ticking along into next game week, I think, and I think we're going to see a lot of divides this week, breaking away with a lot of points hit. So I'm excited to see which transfers you boys are going to be making later. Mikey, 57 points for you this week. A very respectable score. You've taken a -4 this week, so it is a 53. You can't call it a 57 like Reedy would call his a 50. So take us through your team, mate.
Yeah, I think my -4 to bring in Kepa has really paid off there with the 10-pointer. And I think there were quite a few goalkeepers this week who had a 10-pointer. So, if you've got a 10-point goalkeeper, make sure we're celebrating in the comments. That'd be great. Obviously, Saliba coming on in again with the clean sheet. Trippier, Gueye just doing the business. I think FPL is so random, isn't it? Because last week we were all saying, oh, we need to go 3-5-2 because the midfielders are just so overpowered. And this week has just been the game week of blank midfielders, Bowen with the blank, Maddison, Zaha, Martinelli, Phil Foden even blanked against, he got absolutely pocketed by James Milner, much to his embarrassment. The only shining lights really are Ivan Toney in my front 7. So yeah, Sterling, big disappointment. I think he needs to go in game week 13. Right now, I've clearly, as you can see, I've just got other fires to put out. But other than that, really happy with another solid performance there and getting 57 points.
Yeah, so it's a very respectable score. I'm just, the Kepa pick was a really good one for this week, as we said before. I can't remember how many saves off the top of my head that he made, but if you watch the highlights, some of them were absolutely unreal. So you would have been fairly nervous watching that game, Mikey, but obviously fairly happy when the full-time whistle went.
Exactly, yeah. Watch the game from behind the pillow. In the end, there was one triple save that he did that I was just like, oh my goodness, we're just conceding. But then, it was from the good to the bad to the ugly when, Raheem Sterling was hitting the bar at the other end. And I'm just absolutely unreal. Yeah.
Crazy game is FPL, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. But 57 points for you. Not enough to catch top of the league, Jack Gillibrand with Gilla's Killers FC. He got 59 points this week, just outside the 1 million game week rank. So take us through your team, Jack.
Yep, sorry, that's my computer went off then. Did I hear Rev's a Chelsea fan in that?
They said we,
yeah. There was a lot of we in that, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It was we
He's
did this,
converted
we did
to
that.
a different blue.
Oh no, it's because I like to think
all
that
in.
people support me. So I say, we got this point, we got these points, but obviously I just keep forgetting that it's cutthroat here in the FPL Addicts, and we all want each other to do absolutely badly, which is why I'm not telling you my transfers anymore, Jack. So you can't copy them anymore, like you have this week. Just saying. Did I mention that already?
Absolute fraud chat, that mate. Come on, this
No.
guy.
Well,
this team
I'm
know.
bringing in Mountain Robbo this week, mate. Who are you bringing in?
I'd already brought Mountain Robbo in. Already happened. Already happened. It was the obvious choice. It was the obvious
Lies
choice.
from the tablecloth.
There's a few copyright laws being broken here. Bloody hell.
Yeah, this stream might get taken down because of the amount of copyright going on it. Especially with that parrot and Salah in the background on Reedy's screen.
Yeah, Reedy, is that Bertie or Bella? On his shoulder, is it Bertie or Bella? Little pub quiz knowledge there, by the way, guys. The two liver birds, they're called Bertie and Bella.
Yeah, Reedy doesn't know that.
Yeah, because he's a wolf from Runcorn.
I'm not even answering that weird question from you there, Rev.
Anyway, I'll put Rev's goalkeeper Alrasia Guaita, 11 points, unbelievable. He got 10, he got 11. Happy days. Save points, clean sheet. He was obviously a standout for Palace this week. I was going to triple up on Palace defence. Didn't want to take a hit in the end though. But yeah, class from them. Vieira's got them pretty organised. A lot better than what Warry had them. Trips obviously against United, clean sheet, happy days. In terms of FPL anyway. My midfield did nout apart from Andreas in there. And up top, Ivan Toney, some of the other boys getting the goals, happy days. And Kane on fire, in top form. And yeah, delighted to have him up top in there. And Haaland, obviously, the captaincy, no good. But 59 points, buzzing with that. Happy days, top of the league. Current leader of the podcast, Mini. Once again, game week 12. I'm happy. I'm bragging about it because we don't know how long it's going to last. So here's to many more weeks at the top. Let's raise the roof.
Because you're top of the league, Jack, I think you are probably the most qualified this season to answer.
Yeah, what advice do you want, lads? Yeah, Mount.
Mount or Trossard. Jack's already spoiled his transfer this
Get
week.
him in, Francis. Make it happen, mate. Guy's on fire. He's got one more game in him. He'll do it the business in the next game.
He's an FPL fraud. He's an FPL fraud, as Mason.
To be honest, I've got no idea why people are bringing in Trossard this week.
No idea why they're listening to me.
I don't see it. Like 2 of the next 3 fixtures are just awful. Just bringing them in for 1 game week. I get that Maddison's injured and we have to go somewhere, but I just don't think that Trossard is the one. I'm afraid.
They got Forest next year.
Madison's...
Yeah, but obviously Q is hat-trick next week, but then they play City and then Chelsea or something.
You can bring him
like
in for game. Well, you can bring a player in for 1 game week. Of course you can.
If you want, yeah.
But like you with Kepa, you're going to take him out soon and bring Pickford.
Yeah, probably. It's the small arms that I'm really attracted to.
You're saying about Maddison being suspended there, Red. Did he tweak his hamstring during his dive in the last minute? Was that what it was?
Mate, it was a really good Tom Daly impression, as you say, and the referee was absolutely correct to book him. But it was just, you could hear the collective sigh from FPL managers around the world as that yellow card got raised up in the air, just thinking, Maddison, you absolute whopper. He's turned my need for a minus.
Mate, that's a double whopper you pulled out in this
12.
podcast.
Mate, you know what? Before I was a vicar, I used to work in Burger King. There you go.
It's a very different career path, right?
Yeah, exactly. Flipping burgers, praying to the Lord. You know how it is.
Is that what you did? You were doing
Blessed
the burgers.
every burger.
Yeah,
every burger.
I was.
Gone from serving bread to serving bread.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
So that's where the Whopper shout comes from. Unbelievable stuff.
Unreal.
Absolute scenes on the podcast.
Love a Whopper. Love a Whopper.
The more you know, boys. The more you know. Rev.
It's why I'm good friends with Reedy. So. Hey.
Reedy's not even got a clue what you just said, Rev.
No, he's just too busy chatting to Bella on his shoulder. So. Oh,
More in the
never mind.
nonsense. Come on, boys. Get with it. Get with the program. Get distracted.
Right. Well, we will move on, and it's time to do a quick mention to the people who are doing well in our mini leagues. We obviously already mentioned our manager of the week is Ollie. So congratulations again, mate. I'll give it to you twice. Two congratulations on the same podcast. Enjoy it, because that's all you're getting.
Got Pep Guardiola on the touchline at Anfield.
That's all you're getting for the whole season. In our public league, Donald Breslin, Dodie, absolute legend, is on 703 points. He's already broken the 700 mark after a massive week. This week, Alison Wonderland is top, which is Mira. She's on 682, so just 18 points off that 700 point mark. And then Dodie in our head-to-head league sits on top with 26 points. So he is absolutely smashing it. And Chaz has got his arm raised, which means he wants to add something on.
Well, yes, and congratulations, Ollie, to another superb game week. But I'd just like to confirm you are paying for end of season dinner. Is that correct?
Well, obviously, just to reinforce what was said pre-season, it was between me and Elliot. Like, obviously, we're best mates, known each other for how long? 5 years now, El. And we, obviously, we've had this FPL
Too
rivalry.
long.
Touche. So we've had this FPL rivalry for years, and we said whichever one scores more points than the other will be treated to a 3-course meal somewhere. And so at the moment, I think, Elliot, you're like 6 points ahead of me at the minute, something like that. So you want the season today. It's close now.
God, you would have thought you were 200 points off me the way you were crying about it on the last podcast, mate. Honestly,
Elliot, you've been having shockers recently, bro. You've been having shockers, mate.
Oh no, not last week. It was decent last week. What did I get last week? I think I got 72 last week, which wasn't too bad.
Yeah, but we all did, so it doesn't count.
Ollie definitely didn't, mate. I promise you that.
I had a shocker. But if we have a look at it now, Elliot, I'm on 585. So it's 12 points. You're on 597. So look, it's still not great. I mean, last week I was miles off you, and I was just annoyed that I'd overturned like a 100-point lead that I had in like game week 4. But yeah, like it's going to be close. So hopefully I'm not paying for anything. Hopefully the tab's on Elliot, but long way to go before we can.
The good news between me reading the Rev and Chazza is that whoever loses is buying Burger King, and the two of them got staff discounts.
Mate's right.
Reedy's got his loyalty card ready to use.
Can I just say, Combs come in the chat, and last week I just want to give a shout out to this man because he was like
he's the only one listening to you crying.
He was my support network, right? Because you guys on the pod didn't do that. So he was backing me in. So if I get, you need to be in my backroom staff. You need to be on my Morton Heather backroom staff, mate, because you're absolutely quality last week. And so maybe part of that game week's down to you, lad. So cheers for that, mate. And
do you have anything to say about his leaving 20 points on the bench this week, Ollie? Could you console him for this week after what he did for you last week?
It's in the words of Lucas Leiva, it's just unlucky. You just got to bounce back next week. You've got the players there, you've got the team there. Obviously, 20 points on the bench. You've got the squad. Just put your faith, in potentially different players. Make a couple of transfers, and you'll be on your way back up, mate.
We do have another question, and I'll go to you for this one, Ollie. Solanke or Firmino?
Look, my feelings on Dominic Solanke. I think he's a championship merchant, or he has been a championship merchant in previous years, and he's so good at that level. But he's on his way. He's proven himself at Prem level finally for the first time in forever, probably. I know that someone the other week was quoting Frozen, so I'll do the same. Firmino or Solanke, though, I think Solanke offers you a massive discount in terms of price. I've just checked there. Firmino's at 8 million. Solanke's at 5.8. Both of them doing well at the moment. There's other Liverpool options. So if it gets to a point where you need 3 Liverpool players, if they start firing again in the league, obviously Firmino might be taken at 1. You may be happy with that, but I think weighing everything up, if it's between those two, I'd probably go Dom Solanke, and I can't believe I'm saying it.
Crazy. The Rev shakes his head in despair there. So we will move on quickly before harsher words are spoken about that. And we've got our bonus bank probabilities for this week. And if you don't know already, it's a free fantasy football tool, which they're trying to help out with everyone in the FPL mini leagues. The tool gives you the probabilities of clean sheets for each team and which player is most likely to score. So for this week, the top 3 teams that are likely to keep a clean sheet: in third, Liverpool have a 38.28% chance of keeping a clean sheet against West Ham. Newcastle have a 41.32% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Mikey's Everton.
I resent that.
I probably do as well, to be honest, mate. But we'll never know what happens. It's always a cagey one. Is Newcastle Everton? It's always a cagey one. So we'll just have to see. And then Brighton are the top percentage to keep a clean sheet this week with 47.62% against Nottingham Forest. So that'll be an interesting one. And then the three players who are most likely to score. Third, we have Callum Wilson, who has a 40.4% chance of scoring. I'm sure Rev resents that one as well. And then Danny Welbeck is second. Ollie, your cult hero, your favourite. He's got a 41.32% chance of scoring this week. And then Mohamed Salah, Reedy's favourite, has got a 44.35% chance of scoring against West Ham. Reedy, you're going to be expecting more of the same from Salah against West Ham, like the probabilities are saying?
Yeah, I do fancy it. He played in sort of a more central role.
What
was that?
I just heard my voice.
I do fancy the probabilities on that one. He's looking good at the minute, and obviously with the City Arsenal blank, I can see a lot of people bringing him in. It's funny how it potentially turns upside down with the transfers that Liverpool guys have been the most transferred out lately, and already Salah's the number one most transferred in. So.
Yeah, no surprises there for me at least. And I'm sure a lot of other people aren't too shocked by that one. Before we get on to our transfers and a couple of discussion points about Game Week 12, we've got a couple of questions. Reedy, I'll go to you for this one from Boona. He says, Firmino, Darwin or Aubameyang on a free hit?
It's got to be Firmino. I know we didn't, do much as such yesterday, but it was Man City. He's been in great form. I think he's the cheapest of the three, if I'm not wrong. Darwin, I really like him, even though he had an absolute shocker yesterday with that 3-on-1 and the 1-on-1 and whatever else he didn't do right. But he has got the potential. He's making the runs, and he's getting in behind. So he's a good prospect, but I'd just put Firmino there. Aubameyang, I don't know. Chelsea have looked good lately, but obviously Mason Mount seems to be the forefront of where everything's coming through in his positioning and so on. So Chelsea have got Brentford away. Brentford have actually looked really good. Obviously, no one expected them to get that result against Brighton. So I'd go Firmino this week.
I think that's fairly astute advice to give. And then Jack, Trossard or Pascal Gross for this week. I don't think that you've got either, do you? So I think you can be fairly unbiased to this one.
Yeah, I've got neither. I've always been a massive Trossard fan, to be fair. I do like he's really direct, skillful player, gets on the end of things. Looked great under Potter before he left, but obviously with the hat-trick as well. Obviously the last week, what was it, week before now? I'd like him rather than Pascal. I think Pascal might have had his time now. I think he's hit his form, and it's Trossard if you have to choose between the two.
I think that's fairly good advice as well. So we'll get on to a couple of discussion points now. And Chaz, I want to swing to you first. Game week 12, obviously, Man City and Arsenal aren't going to be playing each other, so it does become a little bit difficult for a lot of people. How many hits do you think you can afford to take this week? I'm going to you because you're potentially going to be having to take hits if you're not playing a chip. So how many hits do you think you can take?
I think what this game week presents itself is a really good platform to roll your transfer from a game week before. So you present yourself with 2, and then you can do 3 transfers with a -4. And with the defensive injury crisis we have, for example, Reece James out till Boxing Day and missing out on the World Cup, and Patterson from Everton, it's a really good opportunity to offload both of those. And then you can get players in who actually play. But of course, the trap is no Arsenal or Man City. But it sort of mitigates the risk that you may lose out on a point here, and you could actually gain those points back in the immediate term compared to 3 to 4 game weeks' time. I think a -4, if you want my answer.
-4. Okay, that's interesting. Mikey, what about you? How many hits do you think you can afford to take? Because I think you're going to be taking more than a -4, aren't you?
Yeah, I've already taken a -8. I could take a -12 if I wanted to field a full slot on 11, but I'm not sure it's worth it. I might just brave it with 10 players this week, and see what happens. Cross my fingers and my toes. Maybe do some praying. I don't know.
I think I've seen a few people on Twitter saying that. I think even our friend of the podcast, FPL Pete Sidenet, is going to be playing with 10 this week. I think I saw he tweeted out and said, and I think that if that's all you can do this week, then that's all you can do, because if you're playing someone like, Nico Williams or Andreas Pereira, who, more than not, they get just 2 points every week. All you're missing out on is 2 points, which could end up being better than taking a -4 and being 2 points worse off. So it's a difficult decision to make, and it feels, scary playing with 10 men, but it can sometimes, it might just be the right option in this game week where the average is probably going to be quite low because there aren't the big hitters like Haaland and Cancelo and Martinelli and Jesus. So yeah.
I mean,
think it's
the
a
other
safe option.
The other option is obviously the free hit. And I'm just not even sure the free hit is worth it this week. Like, it's not a very exciting game week to be bringing it in, because, like, I was obviously toying with the idea because I do have a lot of blanks in my team and quite a fair few injuries. And you'd end up with triple Brighton, triple Chelsea, triple Liverpool, who have been hit and miss, and maybe Harry Kane in there, and maybe like 2 Newcastle defenders as well. And it just screams average game week to me. Like, the free hit, you should be looking to like really capitalize on like massive fixtures and going for like a 100-point week, like maybe even in a double game week. But for me, I've really and ahed about it, and for me, I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think I would probably agree with what you're saying there. I think that, save it for a double game week, save it for a rainy day, and use it when, there's a couple better fixtures that swing it that way, because you say it does just scream average game week, and you're not really going to use that chip to its best use, I think, in this game week. So I would definitely agree with what you're saying there. So in terms of the assets from Man City and Arsenal that you are going to be having to potentially transfer out of your team, Ollie, I'll go to you to this one first. You've got De Bruyne, Haaland, Cancelo, Martinelli, Jesus, Saliba, all these players. If it's you and you're having to transfer a couple of them out, which 2 or 3 are on the chopping block? Because I know personally I've made my transfers and I know which ones have been on the chopping block for me. So out of those, maybe 6 main players, who do you think are the ones that you'd take out of your side?
Well, Colm just put in the YouTube comments that he's getting rid of Jesus and Haaland, which I think is a massive call.
Jeez.
Hopefully it works for him, but I wouldn't be doing that if that was me. I've only got 2 Man City and Arsenal players combined this week, Haaland and Martinelli, and I'm benching them both. I think maybe Saliba. I know a lot of people still got Saliba. He's probably one that you can maybe move on. I know it's not ideal because he's been brilliant so far this season, both in terms of a footballing sense and an FPL sense, but I think there are other defenders you can get. Martinelli, there's a lot of midfielders at that price point too. And if you haven't got someone like Tony or Mitrovic, Jesus could be the one you transfer out. There's no way I get rid of Haaland, even if it's just for the one game week, as Combe I think is doing. I think you just bench Haaland and take on for the next game week because you can make transfers elsewhere. But I think other than Haaland, I think I can see reason for every other player getting transferred out. Maybe not Cancelo. I think Cancelo and Haaland are the ones to hold. All the other 4 that you mentioned, I think you've got reasonable reasons to get rid of them.
I think that's fair to say. Rev, I think you're very eager to have your say on this one.
Yeah, I think I'd like to disagree with my friend there, Ollie. In that, I think just from a gaming perspective, a lot of us might need to consider the fact that we have funds tied up in a lot of these assets. So, for example, I'm going to be transferring out Gabriel Jesus. I know the Rev is departing away from Jesus this week. I know, shocker. But the only reason I'm transferring him out is because I don't have any value tied up in him. Whereas with Saliba and with Martinelli and with Haaland, all of those players, if I wanted to bring them back in, they would be more expensive for me than when I took them out. So for me, it makes sense to take out Jesus. Like, for example, like some people might want to take out Cancelo because they're losing a real minimal amount of funds. Like, you know, I'm not here making an advert for Tesco, but like every little does help, and all those 0.1s add up over the course of a season. And if you want to save your money, for me, my bench this week is going to be Martinelli, it's going to be Haaland, and it's going to be Saliba, because I want all of them straight back, and I don't want them to be more expensive than when I got rid of them.
It was just a question that obviously the question was if you had to transfer any of them out, or which ones would you transfer out? And I don't think you get rid of Haaland. I don't think you get rid of Cancelo. So it's just those other options. It's not ideal to transfer any of them out, but I would prefer to transfer out Saliba than I would Haaland, just because of how good
of course.
But it's not ideal.
It just depends on when you brought him in, though, eh?
Yeah.
You brought him in at the start of the season.
It depends on the situation that you're in. If you don't want to transfer out Saliba because you've got value tied up in him, you don't. You know, if you don't have to transfer out Saliba, then don't do it. But I think if it's out of Saliba and Haaland to get rid of your team, you choose Saliba every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I agree with what the Rev's saying. You want to keep these players in your team because of their value. So as little transfers as you can, but you still got a field, 10 or 11 players. So it is a very difficult predicament to put a lot of FPL managers in. So I think it's up to personal preference here and how you got to navigate it. Chaz, you're the only man on the podcast that has his wild card remaining. 4 game weeks out from the World Cup where you'll get a free wild card. It's a difficult one because do you think managers should be playing their wild card this week where, they're going to have to sacrifice those Man City and Arsenal players and bench them for this week? Or do you think it's worth waiting and then playing it in game week 13?
Regardless what game week you play it in, you have an extremely short turnaround to try and configure what players you want on your new wildcard team, because people tend to play their wildcard during the international break. You have 2 weeks to absorb the price rises, go out in the sunshine, go to the Australian Open, have a Corona with Jack, maybe go to Wimbledon if you feel like it. Do you get what I mean? It's a short turnaround nonetheless. You have the information presented to you this game week of 2 sides not playing, which means less players potentially out in the park. But with game week 13, you have everyone in your pool back. And I also feel the fixture swings and the timing of them may actually be better. And with that reading, you have a better idea of which teams to avoid and which teams to attack simply. Or maybe you just, for those doing it for this coming game week, it's more of an itch to try and get 11 players out on the park.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just think, I think it's so crazy that you've still got your wild card left at this point when we get the free one because of the World Cup. You've only got a couple of weeks that you're going to get out of this wild card pretty much. So was that always your plan, Chaz? You wanted to wait to use your wild card and, take it a little bit longer. Do you think it sort of loses its value a little bit now?
I sort of wanted to use it at a time when I really needed it. And within the opening 10 game weeks, I didn't feel like much of a need to have it. But with opportunities such as this, there's a good case to present it and activate it.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think a good one on that L as well is with chat. Like unlike Reedy and Rev who did it on game week 2, I think.
I knew that was coming. every podcast that gets mentioned that we spaffed it in game week 2. All right, we get it. All right, Chazza, you've still got yours. All right, get you.
I think that Rev and Reedy is smarter to play it in game week 2 than to play it now 3 weeks out from the World Cup.
Yeah, but they messed up. That's why in game week 1, right? And then it went, I'm getting panic and making moves. Reedy copied Rev, but I'm thinking Chazza will get more out of his over those couple of game weeks than what the other boys would.
Maybe.
It's like a sugar hit for the next couple of weeks. Do you know what I mean?
I think Charlie's in the chair, so to speak.
Yeah,
I think he's got it's totally advantage Charlie right now. Especially like for me, if it was me in Charlie's position, I'd be wildcarding in game week 13 because you can go triple Arsenal, triple Chelsea, whilst everyone else is off them, and like struggling to claw those fantastic assets back into their team. It's totally advantage Charlie right now.
We'll see, because I'm still 30 points behind you, Ref. Let's move on to the next topic.
Well, 30 points behind, but you still got your wild card to play.
Yeah, but
so...
over those 3 game weeks, you'll make those up with triple Arsenal, triple City, maybe even Liverpool and Chelsea assets in there, while we're all struggling with our Crystal Palace assets, and Newcastle assets and Everton assets. It's just not great.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I think that's a fair point. I think you've got Chaz really excited now to play his wild card at some point. I think he's feeling on top of the world. So fingers crossed it all goes well for you, Chaz. As long as you're not overtaking me in the mini league, I couldn't really care less, to be honest. Mikey, you want to talk to us about Reece James and Maddison, because they are not going to be playing. Maddison, obviously, with his 5th yellow card. Reece James with that pretty bad injury, if I do say so. Didn't look very nice. Looks like he's going to be out for the World Cup. So who are the best, who are the best 2 players to get in for those 2?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of options for the midfield. I think some are better than others. But it does come down to personal preference. But for me, I'm going to take a bit of a risk and go for a differential punt. And I think Jack has obviously had the same thought as well. So I'm just going straight from Reece James to Robertson. I thought he was fantastic against Man City. I think obviously Liverpool have really missed him whilst he's been out with injury. He was on some set pieces as well, which is another thing that I noticed. And so, with him supplying those new targets in the middle, I think he's set for some hauls. So yeah, for me, some people are going for Robertson if they like a risk. If not, just go for a cheap Palace defender. I think, Tambir has said, Anderson or Gueye, both is fine. I prefer Gueye myself because
just not Mitchell.
Yeah, just not Mitchell. Obviously, El still having PTSD from that. 59th minute sub or whatever it was, which is painful. It's just painful. But and then for the Maddison pick, I think Jack might have an idea as well about what he wants to do, because I think we're both going for Mason Mount as well, just straight from Maddison to Mason Mount. He's got the form. He does have the backing of his manager. 2 possibly dodgy goals. I wouldn't say obviously Tyrone Mings.
It's not a goal if it's against Tyrone Mings, is it?
Yeah, big error, big error from the world.
Right place, right time by Mount, though.
But exactly. If you're not there, if you're not sniffing around, you won't find them goals. And I think the keeper as well should have done better for his free kick. I'm trying to not say Gueye. Free Gueye. What?
What is going on?
I know, yeah, exactly. But his free kick. Yeah, his free kick was well struck, but the keeper should have still dealt with it. But he's on set pieces, so one of them is going to fly in eventually.
Mate, that ball moved. That ball did swazzle, didn't it?
That's what he says. That's what little Mason Mount says. Hit it by the valve. If you've seen that video, I think Chelsea put it back up on their Twitter
when he was talking to Luke Shaw. Yeah, and he was like, "Can you show Ronaldo? Can you show it?" Yeah, brilliant.
Too good. Anyway, we're going to talk about our transfers and our captain picks. But just before we do that, anyone who's listening along live or watching back on replay, if you haven't already, make sure you're downloading the EPL Live app. They've partnered with us for this season. It's powered by Sportsmate and it's built for football fans. It gives you the live scores and in-depth team and player stats, and obviously breaking news and highlights as well, and articles from all of the boys on the podcast as well. So if you haven't already, make sure you're getting that downloaded and get yourself involved in EPL Live. But now that is out of the way, we can move on to what we are doing for blank game week 12, boys. So, Reedy, we're going to go to you first. What's your team looking like for this game week?
There we go. It's basically a full 11 as it stands. I'm hoping there's no other injuries or players being dropped. There is a little bit of news coming from the Brighton coach today, basically saying that Adam Lallana is going to come in. So I'm hoping that's not at the detriment of McAllister. But yeah, so set up nicely at the back, 4 at the back. Trent, that's actually another question mark, because obviously Trent was on the bench for Liverpool yesterday. He came on late on. Will he actually play right back? Because Milner and Gomez were really good. I don't know. And I'm hoping that he does. So, it's looking good. I mean, I've brought in Salah and I've brought in Mitrovic, the two GOATs. And that's my moves for this week. So I have took a -4. It was needed. And, I'm liking my team, man.
Yeah, I think it's looking good for this week, really, as well. And the armband is going to be on King Mohammed Salah as well.
It is. Yeah, I didn't want to copy anyone and, do go for Mason Mount or the king is back.
That's Reedy's 11 for the week.
Get yourself a chicken royale and a Whopper for £7.
Some shite partnership that.
So, I mean, I didn't want Harry Kane. United fixture could be another board draw.
He loves a goal against Man United, Harry Kane.
Yeah, but don't fancy that one.
So does everyone. Everyone wants to goal against Man United this season.
That's true. Yeah.
Newcastle.
Yeah, not us apparently. That's all right. Doesn't matter.
Do you know what? If I was still struggling and I was maybe looking at a -8, I wouldn't actually mind bringing in someone like St. Maximan this week. But
you've changed, Reedy. You never used to question.
He's injured for 3 weeks, Reedy, just so you know.
And
he's
don't bring him in.
Jesus Christ, he's definitely not coming in, is he? But yeah, so I don't need to take that -8, you know what I mean? -4, I'm set, I'm ready. Unless there's any other major sort of team news or something, doubts or whatever, then yeah. I'm a little bit annoyed that I brought in Bowen in a sense that I've got Salah this week, so I'm like, I'd want Bowen to ideally blank, and that's just obviously like, club over FPL type of thing, like I did with the Haaland situation. But it is what it is, and I think having Bowen for game week 13 is going to be good because they've got a home fixture against Bournemouth. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this game week. Quick turnaround all round.
It is, but it's looking like a really strong side, Reedy, and all the best for this game week. As I said to Chaz, as long as you're not doing that much better than me, I really do wish you all the best. Jack, we'll move on to your team now. How are you managing to field your 11?
Yeah, well, I've got an extra player as well. I've got 12 that I can field this week.
He's flexing on us. You could do 12.
I could do 12, mate. But I've made my moves already. Robbo's coming for James, as the Reverend alluded to, and Mount has come in for Maddison. So Mount's in the form. I think he's got another game in him at least to get a contribution. And Robertson, Liverpool could be turning a corner. There do tend to be goals in this game against West Ham as well. I think they've been a bit inconsistent over the years with maybe winning a game each for the last two or three seasons, I think it is. So anything could happen. Bowen could hit. Obviously, hoping Salah keeps quiet, but Robbo contributing now could be good. And listen, I think Harry Kane, he scored 15 in all competitions against United over the last, during his career. So he has got a goal in him. Tony up top as well. I'm quite excited about Tony up top because I think they could do bits against Chelsea. They are susceptible to conceding Chelsea, and Tony's on fire, so no reason not to. I've got the armband on Zaha at the minute. Just a bit of a differential in there. Might be playing mind games with a few people, but I might also captain him as well. But we'll see. But I think it's just purely because there isn't a lot of choice in there for the week. I think Trips might be a good
that's just bias.
Well.
That's just bias. You've got Harry Kane in your team there, and you don't want to captain him against Man United. That's what that is. I see you, bro. I see.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. And the armband probably will be going on Kane towards the end before deadline.
I also believe that if you bring a player in and it's like a big move, that realistically you should captain that player. So I think
who's the big move?
Well, Mount's been brought
sideways. He's mate, for Mads.
No, he's in form. He's He's probably on paper. He's probably better than Maddison. He takes free kicks, like you said. You'd put it on.
I think Trips might be a good candidate, mate.
Ooh, I like that.
Everton, obviously, but Mikey said Everton have got the best defence in the world, haven't they? Apparently, so
we're going to turn them over.
We're going to turn them over, lad.
I thought you were a Chelsea fan, Mikey. We're going to turn them over. Miss him out.
Chelsea.
Mate, I'm a fan of whatever.
Mate, he's putting the
FPL
armband on
asset
Kepa
is
this
in my
week, isn't he?
team. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
definitely.
there's a couple of good candidates for the captain's armband, but I'm going to listen to CC and Chaz and try and see what he reinforces.
Yes.
So no pressure on him. Hopefully he can give us some good points to get me over the line and pick the right captain for this week. But going in with 12 players, quite happy, no hits, did 2 free transfers, happy days, in a good position and sitting pretty top of the league, if you didn't know already, in the podcast mini.
You certainly are, mate. And as you said there, we will get onto the CC with Chaz in just a little bit. In terms of my team for this week, I've made 3 transfers. So I've taken a -4. I got Lewis Dunk in for Wesley Fofana, who's obviously not going to be playing for the foreseeable future as well. The fraud, Wilfred Zaha, according to Reedy, I don't think he's that much of a fraud. I think he's going to bang in his next 3 game weeks. And I think these 3 game weeks are the ones to have him in for. So he is coming for James Maddison, and then Kevin De Bruyne has made way for Mohamed Salah to see if he can do the business for me this week. And as Reedy just said, if you're getting a big hitter in your team, you've got to chuck the armband on him straight away. That is exactly what I'm going to be doing with Salah. He loves a goal against West Ham. And his record against them is just impeccable. So I think if you've got Salah in your team for this week, I feel like he will probably be, as we said before, the most transferred in player and probably one of the top captain players as well. So that is what my team is going to be looking like. The Dunk pick was a little bit reluctant. As Rev was saying before, out of their next 3 fixtures, you're probably only going to start him for, this one. You don't want to play him against Man City and Chelsea. But after that, they've got Wolves and I think Aston Villa as well. So I think long-term, Dunk is going to be a fairly decent one for me, and he does pop up with the odd goal now and then. So here's hoping that he can get his head on a set piece and do well for my team. So fingers crossed. But that is my team going in.
I'm liking your squad, El. Your squad's looking good, man. Yeah, your squad's looking good.
I think, yeah, I was going to say I had to take a -4 to get it to look like this, but I really didn't want to get rid of Martinelli, Haaland, or Cancelo. They were the 3 for me. I think out of all of them, I think the question that we asked before, I think De Bruyne is probably the one to go out of those, because you can go to someone like Salah, and then obviously you can always just downgrade to get De Bruyne back in if Salah gets injured or isn't performing. But yeah, that's my team for this week, boys. So fingers crossed it can do the business. Ollie, what's your squad looking like, mate?
I have made 2 transfers. I had 2 free. So that's what I've done with my team. I have brought in Mark Gahey, the legend from last season. Anyone says that, if there's any accusations of me copying anybody, I was the original Mark Gahey. I was the original. He had like 1% when I brought him in last season. He was brilliant. He's back. And hopefully, I said last week, I need Mark Gahey if I'm going to rise up the ranks. So I'm going to take that. The player I probably can't take, despite the fact it's 1% ownership, is Philip Billing, who has also come into my team this week. I said stuff about him at the FPL Social. The reason why I was calling him Harry Winks was just because I thought it was iconic. The reason why I've done that is to set myself up. So Marcus Rashford is the one that's made way for him. And it means that next week I've got enough money to go from Perisic to Cancelo, to bring Cancelo in next week. So it's really just forward planning. I like Philip Billing. He's got some good fixtures for Bournemouth. He's had a few really.
You didn't like him 2 weeks ago, so
you hated him at social. You slagged him off so much on the couch.
You couldn't say how much you disliked him more.
Like I say, I was only taking the mick because it was just funny because Winks was last year and Billing was this year. It was just funny.
Absolute BS.
He's played well recent weeks. Okay, I wasn't so hot on him a few weeks ago. Things change, and he's into my midfield. I probably won't start him most weeks because of the likes of Haaland and Martinelli. It's probably Andreas and Billing that are the ones that are going to drop out. But it was just a plan for next week because I really want Cancelo back in. I think as soon as this game week ends, like literally the morning it ends, it'll be Perisic Cancelo straight away because I've got 0.1 in the bank, I think. So that'll be the move I'll make, so I can get him back in for game week 13.
I think that's fair enough. I'm very surprised to see Philip Billing in your side. As we were saying, you really did not seem too keen on him. But as you say, he's doing the business at the minute for Bournemouth. I'd be interested to see, Mikey brought out some stats before about Dominic Solanke. I'd be interested to see what Billing's stats are as well, because I just feel like he's getting a little bit lucky at the minute as well.
They're even worse. Enough said.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I just needed a player in at that price point. I didn't really want to get rid of Rashford, but the plan was originally to get rid of Salah to go down to someone like Raheem Sterling, and I don't feel I can do that. So I think with the price that he is and the minutes that he's playing, I think Billing was the best option. I didn't really want to go down to someone at 4.5 because I've then got Nico Williams, who's basement at 4 million in defense. I've then got Andreas and another 4.5. I don't even know who would have gone, but Billing is getting points. He's contributing. So, but he won't be starting for me most weeks. He'll be on the bench, but he presents a nice option if I want to rotate somebody. But yeah, the main thing is the ability to go to Cancelo, but I thought it was a nice rounded option that was better than any of the other options I could have had.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And yeah, as we said, he's in form at the minute, so why not jump on him while he is in good form? Mikey, what is your team looking like for this week at the moment? You said you've taken your -8. You've got your Mason Mount in.
Yeah, so as unlike Jack, I've got the armband there on Harry Kane, who is a new addition into the side. Took out Jesus for him. I had some spare money in the bank from last week from doing those moves, so it's good to reinvest my money back into the squad there with Harry Kane. Mason Mount replaces James Maddison, and also Reece James is replaced by Robertson. I'm probably going to be fielding 10 players this week. I kind of like having Patterson, and I don't want to take him out, to be honest. I'm not sure how much longer he is going to be injured. I'd only really want him back again later because he is such a great enabler, and he plays every week for obviously my beloved Everton when he is available.
Chelsea.
Yeah, I know, right? My beloved Chelsea. Yeah, I mean, I'm here with 3 Chelsea players. To be honest, I don't know how that happened.
You went from like 0 to 3 in like 2 game weeks, haven't you?
Yeah, I know, which is crazy. But I think if anything, that's testament to Graham Potter. He's really turned them around, and they look really good under them. I'm happy to be a brand new fan.
Are you getting a skin fade as well, Mikey?
Am I getting a skin fade? Yeah. I'm gonna
the Graham Potter glow up.
I know, yeah, mate. To be honest, I could probably do with a bit of a haircut. All these greys are showing up, you know.
Yeah, mate. You could you could be spot on like Graham Potter.
Oh,
Chelsea assets, skin fade.
Mate, I'll take it rather than being in my 20s and still looking worse than Gary Neville.
Funny thing is, mate, I'm 33. Don't forget.
Mate, I was 33 yesterday, so you're doing better than me for now.
Yeah, happy birthday, son.
We completely forgot to mention that.
Oh, should have said that at the start of the pod.
The Rev's birthday, yeah.
It was the Rev's birthday yesterday, so send him all the birthday love that you possibly can if you haven't already. I saw you did tweet out about it, but anyone who hasn't, send him all the birthday love in the world. He's the stat man of the podcast, as he was reading off his XG, XI.
I am the Burger King.
The birthday king.
Nah, I'm definitely just a Whopper, mate, and you're a nugget.
Too good. But Rev, your team's looking good for this week. Fingers crossed your Chelsea can do the business for you. Chaz, the 6th and final man who's got to go through their team just before we get into your captain's corner section. So take us through your starting 11 for this week.
I shall. It's to the tune. I think it's by St. Model. It's called My Pipe. It was an old FIFA tune. And I call it wild card time. All right, yep, we have pulled it. We have genuinely pulled the trigger. We have made 6 changes. Who wants to hear it?
I do.
I'm intrigued, mate. I'm intrigued.
Sometime today, Shazza. Come on.
Because you say that you wildcard them, but I'm looking at my screen and there's Almiron in your team. So
yes,
you've genuinely picked them against Everton. Do you know how good they are?
Hey, Everton or Newcastle? Newcastle, brilliant, aren't they? As it stands, I reckon some players in there do need changing. But Jesus goes out, Reece James goes out, Patterson goes out, Pascal Gross goes out, De Bruyne goes out, Mitrovic goes out. Tony comes in, initially as a free transfer from a Friday night game about during the second half. Ben Chilwell at the moment. Eric Dyer, because I haven't minded the look of him. Alex Awabi for the vibes. And or did I just, Almiron or Mason Mount? Either way, I need to change this list I did 10 minutes ago because I did 5 minutes my last change. And Harry Kane comes in with the armband. So that's what's happened.
That's it. That's all you got to say about the wild card. You're not going to justify the Almiron pick.
It may change come tomorrow. Madison stays and Cancelo and Haaland are rock the bench.
That's interesting. So you are going to hold Madison.
Staying.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think
What's
people,
the thought
people need to
process
jump in
behind
these.
that?
People need to jump in these comments. Who's watching on the stream and let us know about this wild card.
Yeah, can I just say quickly? Can I just chime in? In 1994-95, that's how far back we're throwing this. Tim Flowers said in a very famous interview, he talked about bottle. Well, you have bottled your wild card, my friend. What is that? That is apps. And
Chaz, you've had a shocker here, bro. I'm not gonna. I love you, but this is.
Was this an auto pick?
It looks like an auto pick team. I spaffed my wild card in game week 2, and I prefer my current team that fields 10 players. Oh, Lord.
I feel like the Burger King has picked this.
Yeah,
I think Chaz's cat's picked this one.
I have 3 of them.
I don't think it's that
which
bad,
one was
to
it?
be honest, Chaz. I don't think it's that bad.
What 3 good things are in this? Go, Elliot.
He's got 2 Newcastle players, which is good because Newcastle are good. He's got 2 Chelsea players for. Sorry, Chaz. That's it. That's all it is the 2 Newcastle players, mate.
I mean, the one that upsets me the most is Nico Williams. Like,
that's
you can't be starting him, Chazza.
He plays for Forest. Forest looks awful at the back.
You can't be starting.
Like, honestly,
it upsets me that Maddison is in there.
I think you got to get rid of Maddison. I think you've got to have Salah as well if you're playing a wild card this week. I think you've got to have him or some sort of Liverpool cover. I think you
comments are flying in, lads.
No.
Martinelli over Madison. People say it's madness.
Yeah,
Foden.
Phil Foden.
Foden.
Billing in there.
He's not
You're missing out on Billing, yeah.
Just to confirm though, is this wild card for this week, game week 12, or for 13? Right, it's for 12, isn't it?
It's for 12.
Yeah, because you've not got enough players, have you? I don't think. So
no, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, you don't want to be. You want a minimum 1 City, 1 Arsenal for 13, obviously. So if you need to then use your transfer on a City player or an Arsenal player, whoever you pick, ideally you want to do that.
Thanks for coming.
Guys, you know
I think we're going to spend an hour pulling this one apart after the podcast, aren't we?
We need an individual podcast just for this.
Need a one-on-one.
This is a confessions booth.
Get
him in the confessions booth.
Yeah, this is
I was going to say, this is our next confessions. Absolutely sorted. Mikey in game week 12 are wildcarded into Almiron.
I cannot wait for Almiron to score a hat-trick against the Toffees. I tell you what, boys, I cannot wait for it.
Milky.
Right. On a serious note, he could get rid of Almiron, couldn't he? And then on the scroll down onto the bench again. Let's have a look who's on this bench. Bloody Ward. He follows everyone. Why is he still going around?
How much is Kepa? Could you not just get Kepa instead of Ward and then?
I've only thought about 10 players on the park at the moment, not goalkeeper department.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens come tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we'll be sending some example ones through to you. But Madison needs to go. I think that's an obvious one, isn't it? And then Almiron needs to go. Obvious one. I don't mind Dyer, right? Eric Dyer's had a good, pretty stable.
That's a good.
I think he's a decent pick. No one's really got him either. I think it's a good pick. Chilwell still. I think we're still doing his question marks over at the minute. Just obviously he needs to get back in more games, doesn't he? And then a good run of fixtures for Chelsea would be good. But I think there's maybe a couple of ones. I mean, no Liverpool assets either. You're wild carding. Is there a shout there for Liverpool assets?
Yeah,
even like Robbo.
If I was wild carding,
or Van Dijk if it's a bit cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Obviously, no Salah.
I got rid of them. to be honest.
You should have waited
But-
a week, Chaz. You should have waited a week. Like,
Nah.
literally, Rev was saying, literally, you could have had triple City when no one
No,
would have
but if you saw his team, I think he had 7 players that wouldn't be
Yeah,
playing.
he had to do something, didn't he?
I think he had to do something.
But
So could
didn't
it get a better
at
9
least
on the park?
free hit left, though? Couldn't you have used that, or have you used it early in the season?
What was it? Free hit or triple captain?
Well, you could have used your free hit then, so it could have gone back to your team for game week
Nah.
13, and then you could have
Mine can
wildcarded into triple City, triple Liverpool, triple Chelsea, whatever you wanted, and you would have had a jump on everyone else.
Arsenal as well.
Arsenal? You
If
would
there's
have had
no
a-
Arsenal cover in this team, that is a very good point.
You would have had the jump on everybody had you just played your free hit. You could have wildcarded after that. You would have been right as rain for this game week, and you'd have been absolutely golden. for
Don't
game
let
I
week.
Ollie
will-
Walker
what I
Peel
will
I
get
was
in
going
your
to
head.
say, just
Don't
remember
let
who's
Ollie
giving you
Walker Peel
advice.
get in your head. Look where he is in the league.
What I will say though,
Personally, Chaz, for me, I'd have took the
Or not.
-8 or the wild over the wild
Yeah,
card.
I was going to
Yeah.
say that as well, really. If you can play your wild card next week, I think you'd make up the ground of the -8 that you would end up playing this week. So I think you'd actually work out fine. But you're obviously locked into your wild card now, which is fine.
Listen, this
Um,
is recoverable. It's not a problem. You'll be all right, Chazza.
Go
At
on,
Yeah,
least
he
we
will.
did, at least we did the
We'll help you out
podcast
after this one,
today
mate.
and not tomorrow, because you'd be scrambling before deadline if we'd done a deadline stream.
We're all going to bed.
yeah. You know what though? Respect to Chazza because you know, as Colin's saying in the chat, you know, part of the fun of it is you do play your own game, and you know he's shaping up his team here. I like the Kane pick. I like Tony. I like Haaland. You know, I think
Yeah,
it's a solid team.
there's still plenty
The
of stuff,
baseline is there. The baseline is there, but clear lack of the ability to jump on Arsenal assets. I would personally have 3 City players on my bench, mate, if I was doing it this week, and then I would drip feed in the Arsenal players over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would already
Yeah.
be planning my transfer for next week would be Martinelli back in my side, or Jesus back in my side, or Saliba back in my side. I agree with what the Rev's saying there. I think you've got to have, you shouldn't. Maddison is just a no-go. I wouldn't bother holding him when you're playing your wild card because I think there's better options.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
This
a
is
lot
the-
of food for thought, obviously, Charlie, but you've got time, mate. It's not all doom and gloom. You've got plenty of time. So, yeah, ignore what the boys are saying, mate. Listen, they're all idiots. Just forget them, and you do you, mate.
Oh, to be honest, I don't care. Like, this is my team. Simple as that.
Hey, go on, Chazza. Speed up.
Raise that roof, son.
Love that from
Absolutely.
Chazza. That's fighting
right.
talk.
Yeah.
That is
fighting
the
talk.
point of FPL. And as I said, when Miggy comes back next week and he's scored a hat trick against Everton, we will all be laughing.
And hopefully don't take him out then.
It's fighting,
Yeah, that'd be even more awkward, wouldn't it?
it's fighting talk, but it's going to be a first round knockout.
Chazza, Captain Miggy. No
Yeah.
balls.
I
Go on,
certainly
then.
will.
Yeah.
If you bring in, as Rudy said, if you're bringing the big players into your team, you've got to captain him. So Miggy
Speaking
is
of
clearly the big
captains,
one.
L.
Yeah, that is a segue, Jack. We should work in radio because that is a segue, my friend. Chaz, you've showed us your wild card, but you've been spot on with your captain picks all season. So this is why we are paying you the big bucks to do the captain picks and not the wild card picks every week. So take it away with your captain's corner, Chaz.
Oh, well, to be fair, I've received no money from you guys at all. So here we are with Captain's Corner. We'll start off with Chris's wallpaper in Mo Salah. And it's a fun week for captaincy because there's no Erling Haaland, who's been the meat-shield wiper and seemed to be the avenue for normality since the start of the campaign. And Salah's record against West Ham, it provides optimism for potential captains, but also it's one of statistically his best opponents in the league. In his 10 league appearances, he's managed to score 9 goals and have 3 assists. And in addition, his ownership has plummeted to 26% now. Who would have thought? At one stage, it was 70%. It's like going to, your Bill's Bargains. I don't know what the UK version it is, but there's really not a lot of ownership. And he's had 3 falls in price since the start of the campaign. And in addition, Salah scored his 3rd goal of the campaign on Sunday against Man City, scoring a decider in their 1-0 win. It keeps Van Dijk's Anfield home league record intact, but it also keeps another record intact, which is he's returned in every second game week. And in those game weeks, he has scored of an odd number. Not scored, returned. Game weeks 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. Jeez, I saved myself there. I've had a long day. Anyways, let's go to the next one. One love, one heart. Let's get together and Kane will be all right. Harry Kane away at Old Trafford, coming second to the ever-reliable Mo Salah. Not so reliable this season. He's returned in the last 9 game weeks. No other player in the game has achieved this stretch of consistency. In-game Spurs have scored, and he has scored in 3 of his last 4 visits to Old Trafford, and this dates back to August 2018. In that spell, he has scored 4 goals alongside and assists. And in terms of managerial ownership in the top 1K and top 100, there's respectability being cemented in this player after all this time, with a percentage of 52% of managers inside the top 1K having him and 48% inside the top 100 elite managers. Now, we did talk about, I'm pretty sure, Man United's defence. And statistically, they are a better side at home when it comes to defending. Only 4 of their 15 goals conceded to date has come from their home games. And in fact, 2 of their 4 did come from their opening game week defeat, which was 2-1 against Brighton. Who's up next? Alexander Mitrovic. He returned in his return game from injury, converting from the penalty spot in their 2-2 draw to Bournemouth, and 5 of his 7 goals have come from home at Craven Cottage thus far. His expected goal numbers of an XG of 5.52 is ranked inside the top 5 of all players in the league. However, Villa's recent record against Fulham is somewhat impressive. In the 2 games Mitrovic has played against Aston Villa, Villa have scored 3 goals on both occasions. Whether this is somewhat a one-off or a 2-off, or Villa have Fulham's number is debatable. So we'll see on that one. Defensively, Villa have been shaky since the start of the campaign, keeping 1 clean sheet. Leandro Trossard, we mentioned this player earlier on. And if you're feeling relatively adventurous, you can go with this guy. His upcoming opponents in Nottingham Forest have one of the leakiest defences in the league. They've already conceded 23 so far, and the only side that has had it worse than them is Leicester with 24. And this, in fact, reflects on the trend of Forest's clean sheet chances for game week 12. They have a second lowest odds with a clean sheet percentage of 14%. Only West Ham have it lower, although they are travelling to Anfield. Excluding his opening game week trip to Old Trafford, Trossard has recorded a high goal involvement ever since. In Brighton's last 9 goals, he's had direct involvement in 7 of them, with 5 goals and 2 assists. And as I was typing this earlier today, he's the second most transferred in, with 100,000 managers already acquiring his services. He may score a hat-trick this week, but will it be a good pick long term? We shall see. And the final one. If you don't worry about a thing, and Dominic is clear, Solanke will be all right. If you're feeling baldy, look no further than the Cherries' informed striker Dominic Solanke, and he's had a really good fantasy patch in the last 5 game weeks, having scored 2 and assisted 4. In addition, his form in the last 6 game weeks is ranked inside the top 10. His game week 12 opponents present as a good opportunity to consolidate his form. The Saints themselves have conceded 18 goals in their first 10 games. And in actual fact, the away side hasn't kept a clean sheet. Also, with a current ownership of 3%, serious gains could occur should he deliver as your man for the armband. And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back here on either Thursday or Friday. I'll have to organise. I'm doing Jack's duties for when our next preview stream is for game week 13. It's a short turnaround, but as the saying goes, we move. Thank you for coming.
Wow. I say it every week, but wow. Just wow. Absolutely brilliant. Speechless. I don't know what to say. The audio. The singing. I didn't expect the singing this week. I really didn't.
Absolute scenes. Chaz, unreal, mate. Can't wait for the album to drop either.
Yeah, going to be brilliant. We need Chaz's EP to drop as soon as possible. But it has been a very, very long podcast today, boys. So we hope to everyone who's been watching along live and everyone listening back to it that you have enjoyed this one. As always, if you have, please give us a like, rating, comment, subscription, all of that good stuff. And we will obviously be back for the game week review or preview show for next game week as well. So until then, may all your FPL dreams come true for game week 12. If you're wildcarding, make sure it doesn't look like Chaz's team, and fingers crossed everything goes all right for you. But until then, stay safe. Goodbye for now, everyone.